Those who are in the business of vaping may soon start paying taxes. National Treasury has published a discussion paper outlining a proposal on the taxation of electronic nicotine and non-nicotine delivery systems. The proposal document is open for comment until the 25th of January. Let's get more reaction on this, and I'm joined by Asanda Gcoyi, who's the CEO at the Vapour Products Association of South Africa, from Pretoria, to just unpack some of the details that were outlined by the comments that have been put forward by government. Asanda, many thanks for your time this evening. Let's speak about your thoughts on the paper that's been put forward, as well as those taxations that have been proposed by government. What is the association saying about this?
Thank you, Vapour, for the opportunity. The association has noted the publication of the draft discussion document on imposition of tax for electronic nicotine delivery systems. However, we are disappointed at the content of the said document, because the document does not give one the detail you would require that justifies the imposition of a tax. The document is very scant on the why. It's very scant on the problem it is trying to solve, how the problem will be solved, as well as what the desired outcome of this perceived problem that we do not know about. So as an association, we are taking this document as a conversation starter. We are not taking it as a full-on proposal, because it is not at the level of a proposal that we can debate on in terms of, is this line of excise the right way, is it not? But overall, we believe that it is lacking in so many respects in its rationale for proposing the tax.
Right, there is the argument that the industry has grown quite significantly over the years, and so has contributed quite significantly to the economy, and taxes here would contribute even further. And so when you are saying that there needs to be a refining of the details that the government is using to justify this move, what would you say those details or proposals should be?
When you look at, Vapour, the current document, it relies on old data. So they've used a Canback study we commissioned in 2017. So that study looked at the size of the industry in 2017. Fast forward to 2020, we had the tobacco and related products ban during COVID, and that has largely impacted the industry. So it does not take into account what has happened post that ban to the industry. We know for a fact that many businesses had to close down. Employment was lost. So you cannot start making proposals without fully understanding what the industry looks like. Yes, there was potential then of the industry, but is the potential still the same today? And our expectation as an industry was that the National Treasury will do its homework to look at what does the current landscape of vaping look like? What is the proposed growth trajectory of the industry, and how then do you have a tax if it is justified? In our view, it is premature because of also the lockdown of 2020 that impacted the industry very badly.
Right, it does also, Asanda, and I think you might agree with this particular point that's raised in this discussion document, the fact that a lot of the users of vapes are young people, and just as an awareness or as a protection mechanism against the adverse effects of vaping, a tax would perhaps assist in curbing those negative effects spreading far and wide.
I think there is a misconception of the youth epidemic globally. We hear this a lot. We hear that vaping is a gateway into smoking by young people. But if you follow the data, if you look at leading markets like the US, the UK, you will see that the numbers of young people vaping are actually at the lowest they've ever been currently. So in South Africa, unfortunately, we do not have the data. So we cannot make policies or make proposals based on assumptions assumptions or what we think may be an epidemic. Because at the moment, what we have, like any other product, we have young people who will experiment with electronic nicotine delivery systems. What our responsibility is as an industry as well as government is to raise awareness and educate young people to say, listen, these products are not meant for you. They are meant for adult smokers who are looking for a less harmful alternative to smoking. So you cannot punish an industry simply because you're trying to protect young people. What are you saying then to the poor smokers who, as we understand it, government is continuously saying that they're protecting them? So are we saying we leave them to smoking and continue dying while we protect young people because we perceive there's a problem? I don't think that's how you regulate. I think regulation and policy should be based on scientific data, empirical data, as well as lived evidence in South Africa. Then we can start talking.
And I suppose that would include the global standard, Asanda, relying on science and empirical data to define the regulatory environment that would, of course, give a sense of how operators in the environment would operate. Talk us through the global standards and what South Africa could draw from them.
I think what we see, Rufua, is in this paper, in the draft tobacco bill that sits with the Department of Health, is that we are overly reliant on the position of the WHO. And we seek to disregard any science that is to the contrary of that. And that is to our detriment because South Africa is unique. We cannot take policy guidelines as they are and expect to just plonk them in South Africa. We need to look at our social dynamics, economic needs. The issue of jobs is big. So having to impose a tax prematurely, for example, on vaping products, will kill the industry. What happens to those 4,200 jobs? Our industry is made up of mainly small businesses. So are we saying we don't care because we perceive there's an issue of health? That is a bone of contention, by the way, that we have currently with the Department of Health on their draft proposal. So I think overall, you need a regulation that seeks to speak to the entire society, where we're saying we care about health, we care about jobs, but most importantly, we care also about stakeholders and involving them in the process of coming up with any regulation, not just for vaping and for tax.
And when we speak about jobs, Asanda, the association did do a study around the economic impact of this particular industry. So talk us through that contribution. I mean, it's quite significant given that it's still in its infancy in South Africa. The economic impact of this particular industry and what these taxes could potentially do to that existing impact.
So the last numbers we have are collected from 2019. So there we saw that in that year, the vaping industry contributed 3,800 jobs. This is direct jobs. And if you had to add supporting jobs from supporting industries, that's an additional 4,200 jobs. And in that very same year as well, revenue was at 1.25 billion and tax revenue was at 700 billion. So you can tell that there is potential for the industry to grow. So to put a tax now will definitely kill the industry because vaping products, unfortunately, are price sensitive. The higher the price of the vaping product, the lower the demand for the product will become. So we're lost in terms of trying to understand what it is that National Treasury seeks to achieve, because if you have an excise, then less people are going to buy vaping products. Is that what they want? Because then what will people be using? You know, is it about the revenue? Is it about moving people to other things? So it's not clear at this point what the overall objective is, which makes it very difficult to give an informed response in terms of whether the proposal will work or not, because we are unclear on the rationale itself.
Right. And just as a final thought from you, Asanda, are you confident that during these conversations that are going to be happening between now and the 25th of January, that stakeholders like National Treasury will listen and take into consideration the arguments that associations like yours are putting forward and make an informed decision in terms of these taxes and their contribution?
We definitely hope so, Rifu. I mean, the timing, number one, the paper was published on the 15th of December. The industry had gone on holiday. We heard about it a few days later. So even the time frame that's given to us, for us, it does not speak of a department that's doing this in good faith. Be that as it may, we've got a proposal, a conversation starter, as we call it. We will obviously provide them with our input. And I think the bottom line here, the message we want to drive is that the current document is not a proposal on anything, but rather it gives us an idea of what their thinking is. So we'll put together our thinking. Hopefully together then we will come up with a plan or a proposal that addresses the concerns of the industry, and at the end of the day speak to the requirements of government as well.